Well, continuing on with our discussion of keyframes in the Mandelbulb 3D fractal generator software, let's very quickly recap the keyframe structure that we have right now, and then we'll continue on. Now, what I have right now is I have 4 keyframes, and I've made my notes down in here. And so looking at keyframe number 1, all right, that's 0 through 300 subframes, and that number is indicated right here. All right, and then we have a number right here which indicates how many subframes so far. All right. So, what I do is I record that down here. I kind of cleaned up my notes a little bit here for the tutorial. Now let's go to keyframe number 2. All right, now that number is the number of keyframes between this keyframe and the next one. These numbers represent the keyframes from, the subframes from this keyframe to the next one. The next one meaning are to the right. That's not the number of subframes since the previous keyframe. It's the number of subframes to the next keyframe. All right, and I've noted that here. All right, so that would be subframe 301 to 600, and it indicates right here 600. All right, and then this next keyframe, this is keyframe number 3, that's going to be the number of subframes to the next keyframe, and I've noted that there, 600 to 900. Let's get that right. Now, let's go to this 4th keyframe. All right, now this 4th keyframe is 300 to the next keyframe. Well, the next keyframe doesn't exist. What the Mandelbulb 3D software is going to do for me, all right, automagically in the background, since that is the last keyframe, number 4 is the last keyframe that I've defined so far, all right, what the rendering algorithm is going to do is it's going to steadily slow that movement to stop. Okay, so this last keyframe doesn't really help me. It sort of kind of puts me out of control. I really don't want it to make a decision like that. All right, I want to decide when that animation stops. I don't need some magic to go on in the background. So here's what I do. When I want to bring the animation to a controlled stop, what I'll do, all right, now watch this now. I take this 4th keyframe, the last keyframe in the stack, the keyframe from which I want to actually implement a stop, and I'll pull that down into main, as I had discussed a few sessions ago. I'm going to pull it down into main. I'm going to recalculate it so I can see it here. And then once I have it in main, I'm going to pull it back over to the navigator. All right, it turns out that that's what I had anyway, because that was the last keyframe I made. I'm just being careful because I may have actually inadvertently made a modification to the position here in my navigator. So I want to be careful that I haven't inadvertently changed the position. This is why I take the time to draw it back to main and draw it over to the navigator. Little tip, there is no provision that I'm aware of where you can send this directly to the navigator. You can't send this keyframe directly to the navigator. You have to go through main and then over to the navigator. All right, but that's okay. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is. Now, what I'm attempting to do here is to implement my own stop. So here's what I do. Once I brought the last keyframe in the stack down into the navigator, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it back to the animation maker. I got to be careful now. I got to get off of that keyframe, otherwise I'm going to overwrite it. Now I make no navigation moves at all. No moves at all. I'm going to send that back up to the navigator. I'm sorry, the animation maker, and then we have a keyframe 5 now. And I'm going to put a 0 in there. All right, now I've got to be careful now. I want to come down here. All right, and here's what I do. Okay, you know, check my notes here. From keyframe 4 to 5. All right, that's going to be okay. I'm going to write in pause or stop, whatever you want to call it. There is no forward, there's no forward motion, there's nothing like that, so I'm not going to put an FWD in there, or no LD for look down or look up or nothing. All right, so I'm going to say, I'm going to type in here, all right, this is a stop, or sometimes I call it a pause, and here's how it might look. A pause might look like this. I'm moving forward, all right, and then I pause, and I drop down. Let's see if I could do it this way. Move forward, pause, drop down. Or I could move forward, pause, and reverse. You see? So the 0 subframe keyframe will implement a stop or a pause, or it will wind it down with you being in control of that movement, rather than the software saying, look, here's keyframe, here's the last keyframe, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna just wind it down, whatever, or I'm just not going to do anything. So you want to be in control of your movement, and a pause or a stop, in my mind, is a movement. It is. It's an animation event. It's a movement, so it's a pause. You can't think of it as moving, but you can think of it as an animation event. On that topic, if we take a look down here, all right, in our navigator, slide up, slide down, slide left, slide right. That's 4 different types, in my mind, animation events or moves. Walk forward, walk reverse, 2 more events. Look up, look down, look left, look right, all in here. Those are animation events in my mind. All right, and of course roll is, roll counterclockwise and clockwise. Those are animation events too. So if we can agree that those are animation events or movements, then we might as well go ahead and agree that a stop or a pause is actually an animation event as well. Now, they don't have a pause here. That's for you to invent. But understanding how the keyframes behave, you can actually control this pause or this move. And I think you'll find that the stop or the pause is an extremely valuable animation event, because there's all kinds of things that you can do with it. All right, you could You could move forward, stop, and then go do something else. And a pause in an animation is, especially when you're flying through an environment, is very interesting from the viewer's perspective. It's like, whoa, whoa, and we're just hovering there. And then we drop, or we go up, or we look up, or we do something else. But a pause it injects some interest into your scene. If you just keep moving, well, I mean, that's interesting too. All right? And you can also implement this same pause, or these animation events, if your camera is just nice and steady and you're just moving the object around. That's a whole different type of animation. But that's cool. All right, you may not be moving the camera, but you're moving the object. Well, you can pause the object movement too. Boo, boo. So, all right, you get the point. So that's how I implement a pause or a stop in the animation. And we're going to go ahead and leave that in there as we continue on with discussing keyframes in the Mandelbulb3D software. Okay? All right, I'll see you in the next session.